Hi everyone, it's Dr. Horowitz here to introduce you to our next module, the changing landscape in organizational communication. Well, by about now, those of us who have completed Module 1 are pretty much feeling pretty grateful, I think, about not having had the, quote, opportunity, if you will, to work on an early assembly line, such as the Henry Ford production of the Model T. Through watching that video and some readings and observing an activity that demonstrated just what that's like, most of us generally commented that this was not a pleasant experience. And while early workers were probably quite grateful to have that job in order to feed their family, clearly the emotional and physical impact on that generation of workers was devastating. So what to do? Workers were, in spite of the good pay, leaving, getting ill, getting injured, and something needed to be done. And coincidentally, there was a body of research done at that time in the area of psychology, led by the giant of that field, Sigmund Freud, who uncovered the mysteries of the mind, how it worked, and in particular, what motivated individuals to behave the way they did. Along with Sigmund Freud were two other very powerful theorists, one Abraham Maslow and the other Douglas McGregor, both of whom examined quite intensely just how individuals were motivated and practically how to apply that to the workplace in motivating employees to maximize productivity. Abraham Maslow is best known for something called his hierarchy of needs, or pyramid of needs, which essentially was a level-by-level explanation of the kinds of needs all human beings have. And in order to perform at their maximum, each level needed to be subsequently accommodated. Douglas McGregor was concerned with the issue of whether or not individuals were innately, by nature, lazy, unmotivated, you had to kind of stay on them in order to get productivity, or whether innately they were rather self-motivated and all that they needed was some minimal direction so that they could then go on and accomplish things through their own volition. In addition to those key concepts, we want to look at the role of leadership, particularly today. Once we have a good understanding of just how human relations philosophy played out in the workplace, each of you needs to be addressing that issue of how would you, as a leader, utilize some of those strategies to motivate teams of employees to in fact maximize their productivity. So these are challenges we're going to look at in Module 2. I also have an additional activity that kind of relates to current events, and only in this sense. For those of us living in the United States, we know that as never before, our society is in turmoil. Relationships are at odds. Values are at odds. The political landscape is in disarray. And why does that apply to us? Because ordinary individuals who come to the workplace, that is, once this shutdown in government has subsided, people will be returning to the workplace, many of whom will have very high emotions related to the politics and governing that is currently going on in the United States. We have to address that, not so much from our own political vantage point, but rather from a leadership perspective, knowing when you have employees who are emotionally in turmoil themselves, how would you address that as a leader? And it must be addressed because it doesn't just get left at the door. So with that, let's take a very close look at an exciting period in American history and the evolution of organizational communications, the human relations era.